6 months ago, my life took a devastating turn. My husband's sister, Laura, tragically fell down the stairs and died. It was a freak accident, no one saw it coming. Laura was just 29. The whole thing has been a blur of confusion and disbelief, especially now, as my husband has suddenly, and baselessly, accused me of being the one responsible for her death. I don't understand it. This is insane. My husband, Luke, is 33, and we've been together for 4 years, known each other for more than 20. Laura and I were close. We would see each other at least 3 times a month, always together with their parents. But now, out of nowhere, I find myself under suspicion. 6 months ago, when Laura fell, it was a shocking and heartbreaking accident. I was there when it happened, but I only saw her for a brief moment. Less than 10 minutes. She was in her pajamas, making coffee. I didn't even stay long enough for a drink, and now, I can't shake the thought that our last exchange, so short and insignificant, might have been her final moments. It's been haunting me. She deserved so much more. Luke and I had only been married for a year, but we'd known each other forever. We had a strong bond. When Laura's parents discovered her, they called Luke right away, and we rushed over to the house. It was chaotic, overwhelming. We tried to support each other, trying to get through this together as a family. But then, things started to shift. Luke began asking me strange questions. Exactly what did we talk about? What was she wearing? Where were we standing? It felt odd. And the questions kept coming, focusing on the smallest, most insignificant details. It escalated. Luke began accusing me of giving conflicting answers, of being dishonest, as though I was hiding something. I couldn't even remember what pajamas Laura had been wearing, and somehow, that made me suspicious in his eyes. The tension grew, but after about a week, I finally snapped. I was done answering his questions. I made it clear that this was ridiculous, and I wasn't going to keep defending myself over trivial things. I thought it was just grief, maybe a phase that would pass. His behavior felt like the normal sorrow of someone mourning. But then, last Friday, it all went too far. Out of nowhere, in front of his parents, he accused me of murder. Yes, murder. He shouted that I killed Laura. It was like a slap in the face. His parents were stunned, just as I was. The inquest had already been completed, and the verdict was clear: accidental death. There was no doubt. Yet, Luke was convinced there was something more. He said it was so obvious that no one else could see it. He accused me of snooping through his phone, finding messages with Laura, and confronting her before pushing her down the stairs. But I've never looked at his phone. Not once. How could he think such a thing? And then he started shouting about going to the police, about getting the inquest overturned, about how I wasn't going to get away with it. I was speechless. I couldn't even comprehend what was happening. I had no idea where this was coming from. I've always had a good relationship with Laura. We all did. So why, now, was he accusing me of something so horrific? What could have possibly triggered this? He's been staying with his parents ever since, refusing to speak to me. His mother and I have exchanged a few messages, but even she doesn't know what to make of it. I'm still in shock. I don't know what to do. I promised him I would always be there for him, through thick and thin. But now, after he called me a murderer, it feels like something inside me died too. How can we move forward from this? How can I ever trust him again after this? More than that, how do I clear my name? What if he's telling people we know? I can't even imagine how people would see me if they believe his accusations. The idea that I could ever be seen as capable of such a thing is terrifying. It's crossed my mind. Has something happened to him? A brain tumor? A psychotic break? I suggested it to his mother, but all she said was, talk to him. I don't know what to think anymore. Other than his strange accusations, he's been grieving like anyone else would. He seems normal, sane, except for this. Is it grief, or is there something else going on here? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Does anyone have any advice? How do you deal with something like this? I just want to move past this, to have my life back. But I can't shake the fear that he might actually go to the police, or that he'll say something to ruin everything. I never even imagined something like this could happen. The unease is palpable, her heart racing as she scrolls through the messages. Desperation creeps in, she's been ignored at every turn, and the weight of the situation presses down harder with every passing moment. Could it really be true? Is he actually accusing her of murder? The accusation feels like a gut punch. Her mind races. What did he say? What could possibly have made him snap like this? He'd concocted this story right after her sister's tragic death. But why? Had he been planning this from the very beginning, or was this just some warped reaction that had spiraled out of control? She's been trying to piece together the last 6 months, the calm before the storm, the normalcy that now feels like a distant memory. Everything seemed fine, right? Nothing at all hinted at what would come next. But could there have been a sign? Did she miss something? Frustration boils over. Where are the messages? She's desperate to see them, to understand what could possibly be in them to make him think she was guilty of something so horrific. It's like something out of a twisted nightmare. But could the messages even exist? She's never known him to lie, not like this. There's always been a strange calm, an openness. He's never been defensive about his phone, about his personal space. But now, she wonders, did she miss the cracks? Could it be that something is wrong? Is it possible that a mental health issue is at play? She stares at the old iPad in her hands, his iCloud password stored there. The backup from yesterday is ready, but the question lingers, can I make sense of this? What if it's just a tangled mess that makes no sense at all? She doesn't want to restore the entire phone, that would be too much. But can she dig deeper, find what she needs? How do you even begin to access these things? It's frustrating. She's no tech expert. What if it's right there in front of me and I'm missing it? Her thoughts scatter as she reads through the backup. She's not prepared for what she finds. There's nothing like he described, nothing to support his accusations. It's all wrong, every word, every claim. And yet, she knows what she's done is illegal. The gravity of it hits her hard. She's crossed a line. There are consequences. She's put herself in a position where there's no easy way out. The reality of it sinks in. And yet, she feels cornered. Trapped. Alone. In the middle of all of this, her safety feels like it's in jeopardy. She's already broken the law, and it feels like there's no other choice but to keep going, to protect herself. How far does she need to go to feel secure again? With her thoughts spinning, she waits for a call from the locksmith. The locks on the house need to be changed. She knows it's against the law. But what else is she supposed to do? The feeling of being completely powerless is overwhelming. How did it come to this? She's been forced into a corner, pushed to act out of fear, out of necessity. And the law? The law doesn't care about her fears. The law doesn't care about her sense of being unsafe. She's on edge. Her mind never stops racing. What should I do now? The situation feels beyond her control. But she won't give up. How do I protect myself? Is there any chance of stopping him from escalating, from taking this further? She's terrified of what could happen if the accusations spread, if the town gets wind of this. It could ruin her. It could follow her forever. But what if it's all a lie? Or worse, a delusion? Can I stop him from dragging me down with him? The questions never stop. She needs answers, fast. The silence that had followed me for days felt like a heavy weight, crushing all my attempts to breathe normally. I had accessed his messages, illegally, yes, and now, I'm left wondering, what will this truly cost me? I was desperate, but also fully aware that the next steps had to be calculated. I needed legal guidance, but here I was, it's Sunday. Of all days, Sunday. Should I be searching for a solicitor specializing in divorce, or does this whole situation now call for a criminal defense lawyer? Or is there a specialist who deals with the complexities of mental health law? Because, honestly, that's where my heart lies right now, getting him assessed. The only window I've had into the law was through the inquest, but what I'm facing now is far beyond that. It feels like a maze. A commenter raised an eyebrow at my quick leap to mental health assessments. Was it a way to shield myself from the accusation of murder? I don't know, but if you were in my shoes, would you be thinking clearly either? The husband I knew, the one I'd shared everything with, had slipped into someone I didn't recognize. I went from knowing him like the back of my hand to hearing myself being accused of murder at a family dinner. A case built on messages that, to this day, I've never seen. It's been 9 days, and the silence only gets louder. How can someone so close to me turn against me this way? It wasn't even an accusation from a distance, it was right there in front of me, at the dinner table. A moment I'll never forget, where everything changed in an instant. The inquest, the one that had cleared the air, the one that confirmed I wasn't there when his sister passed, meant nothing now. I wasn't involved. The time of death, the evidence, everything proved that. Yet, there he was, accusing me, painting a picture that felt as foreign as the person sitting across from me at that dinner. But what could I do? Fast forward to an update I never expected to write. I turned to Reddit, honestly, not knowing what kind of response I'd get. But there was one person, one helpful soul, who guided me to my husband's iCloud backups. I'll admit, I didn't hold much hope, but the advice was solid. I dove in, scrolling through years of conversations. But what I found didn't make sense. Not in the way I feared. Nothing in those chats, no sneaky affair or suspicious gaps, no signs of foul play. Just two siblings planning things, joking about life, passing along memes. Even a few cruel words about some people, but none of it about me. It should have been a relief. But instead, I felt more confused than ever. The answers I sought were nowhere to be found. Instead, more questions were rising. So I did what seemed like the next step. I reached out for legal advice, once again through Reddit. And that's when it hit me, my choices were limited. Either I divorce him or I confront this head on. His behavior was spiraling, and I had to make a decision. But things didn't stop there. They spiraled even further when I called his mother, laying down my intentions if I didn't hear from him soon. That was the trigger. That's when the storm hit. On Friday night, the world turned upside down. He posted an accusation on Facebook, an accusation so absurd it seemed almost crafted for drama. He claimed he had been planning to leave me for months, with his sister's support, and now, he said, I'd murdered her. That the coroner was wrong. That the police were reopening the case. And all of this, every lie, was heading straight to trial. He posted links. He made it sound convincing. In a town like ours, where everyone knows everyone, the message spread like wildfire. People I hadn't spoken to in years were reaching out, shocked, confused, asking if it was true. The madness was overwhelming. But I wasn't going to stand idly by. I had to act. I posted a rebuttal. I shared the full conversation history between him and his sister, every message, every detail. I linked it to my Facebook page, hoping for transparency, for the truth to break through. And then, I included a note. A message to him, if you want these passwords back, you know where to find them. Admitting the truth might have been his only way out. But instead, he panicked. When I finally spoke with him the next morning, he wasn't in a mental health crisis. No, this wasn't an episode. This was a lie, plain and simple. And once the truth started to unravel, once I exposed his game, the mask fell. He was drunk. Begging for mercy. Telling me he'd explain everything if I deleted my post. But I knew better. I hung up on him, knowing that I could no longer be part of his web of lies. He called over and over, texting me in an attempt to guilt-trip me, to manipulate the situation with his mental health, but it all felt rehearsed. Too scripted. And as soon as he realized his tactic wasn't working, he blocked me, begging for forgiveness. But there's no turning back now. I consulted the legal advice subreddit. They told me what I did was technically illegal, but that it's unlikely any court would act on it. So here I am, leaning on that advice, hoping I don't face consequences for trying to uncover the truth. But with no other way to get answers, what else could I have done? This relationship, this future I once thought was mine, has collapsed into an ugly, petty mess. Played out for all to see on social media. And for what reason? Still, I don't know. The worst part is, the more I try to understand, the less it all makes sense. A brain tumor? Maybe. But as each day passes, I feel like I'm running out of time. Tomorrow, I'll lawyer up, I know that. And, hopefully, this nightmare will start to make sense. I wish I could give you a happier update, but I can't. I don't know if anyone will believe him, but I'm standing by the truth. Even if no one understands. So thank you to everyone who offered advice, who tried to help me make sense of it all. You might never know how much it meant to me.